What's up, everybody? This is Dan, coming to you from Carolina Crown Percussion Staff. I'm excited to join you today with a little instructional video. We're going to be focusing today on float partials. This exercise appears very weird, right? I'm sure when you first looked at this, you were like, what is this for? What is this about? What does this work on? All valid questions. Okay, this is a very special exercise. It really targets some of the nuances of our technique and how we play. I would say that some of the major bullet points that you should be keeping in mind as I go through this video are prep stroke. When does your hand depart from the set position to come in and play? This exercise has a ton of space and it allows you to really focus on that departure point and then how you flow up through the stroke. Okay, very relatedly, this exercise focuses on one of the tenets of our technique, which is slow up, fast down. You're going to hear that a lot from everyone that teaches the drum line at Crown. Well, what does that mean? It means we want you to be able to prep the stick as slow as possible and then throw the stick as fast as possible, especially when we're talking about 3Fs and 2Fs, okay, and sometimes some other dynamic ranges. Okay, so it's really allowing you not only to focus on that departure point down here, but also to really wind up and pitch that stick with a ton of speed. Okay, you'll see as well. Again, these are ideas that are building off each other. When I actually strike the drum, I'm not squeezing the stick and muting it. You'll see at that bottom point when I strike the drum, there's quite a rebound. There's a reaction. So we're working on a concept we call universal grip or neutral grip, where we're not focusing, squeezing at the front of our hand, clamping the stick at the back of our hand. We're really letting that stick vibrate and resonate at the bottom of the stroke. Okay? As well, this exercise works on both how we look at the top end, 3Fs, 2Fs, and how we move with our hands. So you'll notice as I go through this, there's some intuitive movement that takes place as we play. That is a huge tenet of the way that CrownDrums plays and just the overall identity of the drum line. So when you see me move, when my shoulders are moving, when I have a little bit of a wiggle in my hips, whatever, that is all very much embedded in our approach, and it is extracted in this exercise. Okay, perhaps last, definitely not least, this exercise is a 16th note grid exercise. You will notice once we get into letter A, letter B, and letter C, it's all about 16th note patterns, whether it just be a dotted quarter note, whether it be the shifting partials at letter B, or whether it be dotted eighth notes at letter C. This exercise is challenging how mastered you have 16th notes. Sorry, I said that weird, but you get it. How have you mastered 16th notes, or have you? Okay, so keep in mind the timing element underlines everything we're doing. It's not just about the flow. It's not just about the prep or the arrival. It's not just about the look. It's not just about the grid. It's really about all of them, right? So I just want you to keep in mind as we go through this, I'm going to kind of review each letter and just give you some tips on how to perform this the best you can, but always remember the rhythmic accuracy and sound quality are always something that we strive for. We never, ever sacrifice that, okay? Today, I'm going to be playing this at 126 for you, but keep in mind the range is 120 to 132, okay? Keep in mind, too, this exercise has been designed to be played with flams, so you'll see a lot of double stops, and that's another, honestly, another skill set we're working on here are the symmetry hand to hand, right? But the cool thing about this exercise is you can play it with flams on all those alternating strokes. So that is going to start to identify the consistency or inconsistency of your flam width. So you can already tell we are a few minutes into this video and I've already pulled apart the exercise conceptually. There's a lot going on. So please do not undervalue the difficulty of this exercise. Okay? First thing I want to do is take letter top to A. These are dotted half notes. A downbeat every 3 beats in 3/4. Okay? I want you to take note of how long it takes me to prep that stick, and then how short it takes me to go from that top end, 3 Fs, down to the drum without squeezing. You can always see the reaction at the bottom of the stroke. So I'm going to play top to A, and then we'll just talk a little bit about what you're seeing. Let's do it one more time. Awesome. So, certainly the timing element is important. Playing a good downbeat every 3 beats, okay? Then the prep comes into mind. I think I'm prepping at this tempo about a count before I play. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay, I'm trying to take as long as I can on 1, 2, 3, E and a 1. 3 E and a 1. There is a little bit of a whip, not from like leading with the wrist by any means, but there's a whip in terms of the motion. We're not moving symmetrically up, down. 1, 2, 3, 1. 1, 2, 3, 1, right? It's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. So that prep and the I'd say the length, the speed of the prep is going to allow you to pitch that stick super fast and get a huge sound, a lot of resonance, without hitting the drum hard. Nothing we're doing here or in any exercise about hitting the drum hard. It's about velocity, and it's about that nice, relaxed grip and a nice open hand. The difference between this and this. You can hear that difference. Last, before I play this one more time, double stop prep. So I popped most of those double stops. I'd say one of them, maybe the second one, that second rep got away. You gotta prep your hands symmetrically as well. When the hands don't depart at the same time, that's where you get the outcome in the sound, which is a flammed double stop. So you really gotta focus on having those hands depart at the exact same time. So I'm going to play this one more time, maybe 2, so you can focus on the concepts I'm talking about. Cool? So hopefully you're seeing some of those concepts show up in my own playing. And I'm going to continue to try to demonstrate, explain, and demonstrate in terms of the structure. Let's move on to letter A now, okay? The distance between the notes collapses a little bit, right? We go from the dotted half to the dotted quarter, okay? You're going to be able to see a little bit more of a visual sway, and there's a little bit more of an immediate reaction in terms of your hands exchanging, but many of the facets of that dotted half note, they show up here again, including the double stop approach, the speed of the prep being slower than the downstroke, playing the rhythms correct, okay? So I'm going to play A to B, talk a little, I'll play it again, okay? Here's letter A. Again. Cool. You can see I could play this in time like this. Nothing written on the page suggests that I couldn't do that. But in terms of our dynamic range and what we try to do here at Crown, we want our fortissimo to be as loud as we can play. We want that to be a great open sound, high quality sound, but we want to get a very, very loud upper range. And then similarly, when we play a pianissimo, we want to play as quiet as possible on these instruments. So when I look at fortissimo and I play it like this, that doesn't feel true to that dynamic range we're trying to demonstrate. Whereas that seems like a volume that we're going to be able to work with in terms of stretching it both down the dynamic range and then up to a higher range. There's still room to grow from there. And that volume is coming from speed. The whip of the stick from the upper range down to the drum, and then that little reaction where the stick bounces up almost 4 or 5, 6 inches down here. Can you see it? That is the look we want. We don't want this. Because I can feel and hear the sound quality diminish. So I'm going to play letter A again, and I want you to start to observe some of the concepts that I'm addressing. Letter A. Cool? So not bad, not bad. I think one thing that's going to be a tendency for new players or players that are newly approaching this exercise is slamming the double stop. I don't want you to hit any harder than you did here. We're just doubling it. Cool? And you're going to notice, I'm not even doing it voluntarily at this point, but I'm clicking my teeth. Because underneath everything is the rhythmic structure and the grid, right? Don't ever stray away from the rhythmic accuracy. The techniques that we are developing here are all on top of playing the correct rhythm and on top of playing a great sound. Actually, they should support the timing, right? Because I can feel the moments where I prep. It's going to help me actually line my hands up when they arrive at the drum head. The ticks that you hear on the drum are ticks that happen right here. Right? If you hear a double stop, that's pop. It's about the departure. If you hear bad triplets, it's because those hands didn't split in a triplet motion in the prep. So we really, really like to identify the prep stroke as either something that enables us to play well or stops us from playing a perfect rhythm. Okay? Let's move on to what I believe is the hardest section of this exercise, letter B. This is that moving partial. 1, E, and up. 1, E, and up. Okay? So be super wary of the rhythmic accuracy. I'm going to do my best to demonstrate it for you great the first time. Okay? And you're going to notice the fluidity. What used to be so open, as we get faster, and this is very much purposeful, as you get faster, there's less and less time between the hands freezing down at the drum. Okay? So you're going to notice that prep. It starts to kind of connect more and more to the note that comes before. It's not exact. It's not. See what I'm saying? I'm still trying to wait. But it becomes more and more connected, and as we get at letter C, it becomes more connected. Okay, so let's take letter B. Letter B. Good job. One more time. Cool? Not too bad from my end, playing those rhythms right, but this, when we play this, this is one that really, really trips us up. E, and up. So, there's a lot of ways we could break this down. simple 16-note grid would do it, but you got to be super comfortable sticking all those notes. Here's another way we break it down. Through independence. Cool, so just mastering the feel right there. Gets a little funky, I think it's in 5, yeah. And just making sure that's there, and then you feel that fluidity increase. Cool? Let's move on. Letter C. This is what I think, as we get faster, is actually the easiest letter, okay? And this is where the fluidity, I would say, maximizes, okay? That's where it feels like the hands are moving way more symmetrically. We're almost at that point where it's... So this idea about the float, the speed of the upstroke, it's all relative. That's why it goes from slow to fast. But you could certainly take this exercise where you start faster. And you can play backwards, and you can actually feel sort of that little knob dialing where it's like I'm more or less symmetrical. My upstroke and downstroke are more or less similar. At those really open rhythms, at those really slow tempos, that upstroke is pretty slow. Whereas if we're playing like fast 5-lets or whatever fast single rhythm, I don't have any time to do that. So it's just totally even. See what I'm saying? So there's no mathematical approach. This is something we discuss. We match the center. We look at each other to sort of get this more cohesive, at least from a visual standpoint. And we use our ears to match the sound. But just keep in mind, this exercise is very much engineered to turn that knob. And you could continue to turn that knob beyond what's on the page. But, not to digress, I want to play letter C for you. Okay? One more time. Cool. That one feels a little bit more natural. It's still a slower hand speed than we would tend to play as drummers. We usually get an 8s, and that's our first hand speed, even at... But the double hand speed is here. So it doesn't expose some of those situations where we're playing big open rhythms and we need to play with a way, way slower upstroke and a faster downstroke. Again, it's like the pitcher in a baseball game, the windup is slow, the pitch is fast. That's how we want you to approach playing this exercise and playing rhythms such as this. So I'm going to do my best. I'm going to run through this one time top to bottom, and I want you to see that knob turning in terms of the speed of the upstroke going from really slow to faster to almost symmetrical. Okay. Cool. Not a bad rep on my end. Couple double stops I felt get away from me, and I could tell right here. That is where I feel the error. So the more that you can master the feeling of what's happening in that prep stroke, from the moment that you engage the beat and the wrist at the low end, you'll avoid more mistakes both in the high-end double stops, high-end rhythms, and attacks, right? Because when you tick an attack, it's here. It's that moment you prep. That's what we're trying to get you to pinpoint. So this nuance in the crown technique is not even something you can necessarily see all the time. It's about where we want you to focus your mind to play better attacks, better high-end double stops, better fortissimo, and to get our look more similar person to person. Now, when you all plug this in with the MP3 and with the full battery, I want you to get familiar with the different sections playing. The bass voice, for example, provides a great structure for the upper battery. Same thing, the bass drums have to fit themselves in to the structure and rhythms the upper battery is playing. But once it does fit together, it's really, really comfortable to play some of these groupings that right now, just playing the upper battery part, don't feel as comfortable. Okay? So I hope you all feel like you have a little bit of a better understanding of this specific exercise and the techniques within it. And I definitely look forward to meeting you all and continuing to talk to you about the way that CrownDrums plays. See you later.